Welcome to For Felliness, Belysning.
You are not broken. You are out of balance. And there is a path home. This is For Felliness, Belysning. From the Alaska ulfhednar. Ancestral morning light for those who have been through hell and are still standing. This nonprofit has a sliding scale guidance at alaskaulfhednar.org/guidance. For Felliness Belysning begins now. Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiancé, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great-grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
God Morgan, and happy Wotan's Day to you. Today we embrace the wisdom of Wotan. But our topic today is the long winter. But before we get started with all of that, we're going to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who have followed, and subscribed to us on whichever platform you happen to find us on. We are deeply appreciative and ultimately very thankful, and hope that you've passed on this information to someone who may need it. We are always on the lookout for those who just may need that extra energy each and every day to kind of get their day going in the right direction. And likewise, my friends and family at New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com, a streaming channel dedicated to offering a plethora of perspectives of our spiritual journey to help us along the way. Today's show is brought to you by dreamhost-hosting, internet hosting for your domain name and all of the things to help your voice echo through the internet with ease of configuration, and wonderful tech support and support personnel who are there to help you along the way to get your site up and working and running just as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So do check them out, Dreamhost-hosting. You can find them on the internet, dreamhost.com. Well, today we're celebrating Wotan. We're embracing the god Wotan. Now, for many of you who are new to the Norse, and certainly to our legends, the Norse, we see an evolution of Wotan, as he was really recognized originally in the Germanic tribes as Wotan, and he was a chieftain, very warlike, very war-orientated, served very valuably with the throughout the war with the Vanir. But as we see Wotan evolve with the migration of the Danes, particularly my ancestry, the Danes, the Germanic tribe that would migrate north across the Alba River into the Jutland of Denmark, these Danes would bring, of course, their gods, their recognition of these gods to the Jutland of Denmark. And we see an evolving of Wotan into a very similar figure that we all know, love, and recognize, and that, of course, is the god Odin. Odin would then be the chieftain of the Aesir gods, and his constant quest for wisdom should inspire each of us to seek out our own wisdom. Now, we've spoken on many occasions, and we'll speak many more times, about what is this thing called wisdom. Well, Wisdom really is the combination of knowledge and experiences. We've spoken about this before, where the knowledge within our minds begins to create a web, just this interconnectivity within the mind, interrelating different facts and almost creating then a separate higher level of knowledge and gaining. It's also the foundation for a thing we use almost every minute of every day, and that is imagination. Imagination is simply the energy that is fed from our memories into our sensory input as we take it in. So every time we experience anything here in the physical realm, we're bringing it in and we're mixing it with this thing called imagination. Imagination really allows us to establish this whole principle, this whole idea of fight, flight, or freeze. Now, fight, flight, or freeze is simply the body's reaction to a particular event. Our imagination helps to identify those things within our experience that we need to be reactive to. So, if we go back in time, many thousands of years, and think about your ancestors and out on the open plains, and as they traveled, of course, they were not the top of the food chain. Okay, they were not way up here. They were down quite a bit, and so there were lots of predators out there that, well, whose job it was, whose role they played of controlling population by nefarious means sometimes, but nonetheless, our ancestors had to be wary of these predators. They had to be able to identify them. And so this is really the evolution of instinct. So instinct tells us that we should search the high grass for, in this case, if we were out on the plains or on the Serengeti, if you will, we're looking for lions or tigers or bears. Here in Alaska, we look for bears. And so what your imagination is going to do is it's going to manipulate our sensory input to highlight things that may be of concern, things that we need to react to, unique pieces. So if you look at the whole imagery that we're looking at as an example, our imagination is going to help us to identify shadows in the high grass. Now, shadows in the high grass, the wisdom that's kind of formulating behind imagination is going to help us to put a face to the lion lying in the high grass, waiting, right? Getting ready to pounce. We're seeing those shoulders kind of shift up and down. We're looking for those things. So imagination being fed from memory into our sensory input is simply going to strip away all this other stuff and uniquely identify that section in the grass that has some odd shadows to it. And immediately it's going to say, hey, there's a lion right there, right? So the rest of our common sense says, no, well, and we start talking to ourselves out of it. But nonetheless, that's what the imagination is for, and that's why it's fed into this sensory input. It's helping us to identify that lion's face in the high grass. In many times, our imagination may need some adjustment. We may say, this just really isn't the hunting area for lions. They're not here. Doesn't mean it's not one. It simply means that the chances that it is one are pretty low. Could it be a mountain lion? Sure. Could it be a cougar or a leopard or sure, right? But are they going to pounce? And this is the negotiation that our mood ring, the well of the self, the recipe card, the horn of feeling, and certainly the me gate, will all go through. Each and every experience, we're going to look at these stages of thought process and go, could that be a lion? Now, if we were in downtown New Jersey, chances are that the lion there in the high grass is not a lion. It could be, who knows, right? So we've got some negotiation that's got to go on, right? And so this is what imagination brings to the thought process. So it's all built, imagination, of course, is built on the same upper level of knowledge, if you will, that we refer to as wisdom. Wisdom then feeds this imagination into our sensory input, which then alters the sensory input to identify individual things. Now, as I mentioned before, soon after we bring in this sensory input, we're going to go into this thing called the mood ring. The mood ring is our preconceived or our preset emotional state. So if we're grumpy, our emotional state is set. If we're happy, if we're relaxed, if we're comfortable, if we're fulfilled, content, again, we're going to fill that mood ring with whatever our preset emotional state is. So now this imagery, we'll use imagery as the sensory input of choice here. As this sensory input comes into the brain, or into all the sensory inputs, it's going to go into this thing called the mood ring. And the mood ring, again, is going to continue to manipulate the imagery. Now remember, our brain, or probably more uniquely, our eyeballs are converting reality into a movie, into bioelectricity. That in the eyeballs, as an example of the visual aspect, but each sensory input has it, converts it to a signal that we can then pass that signal along these things called nerves. We have lots of them. Sometimes people stand on them. No, I'm just kidding. It's a phrase. But nonetheless, these nerves are going to transmit then this converted signal. So think of each experience very much the same way you think of your computer. As you take a picture with your phone, the phone takes the imagery that it found in the experience, and it's going to convert it into a digital format, right? So now you've got the digital picture on your phone. Same thing happens at your eyeball. But your eyeball, unlike, well, to some extent, think of your camera, your digital camera, as having filters on it, right? So it's going to filter out. And one of the main things it's going to do is filter out the vignette. So this edging around the picture here kind of is fuzzy, not so important as kind of the key pieces, right? So wherever your focus is, wherever your concentration is, remember we're sending energy to that. And that energy, of course, is represented as the signal comes into our sensory input and uniquely identifies pieces within that picture. Sometimes they're in the main focus, they're in the concentrated part of the center. Sometimes they may be out here to the center, sometimes they may be completely on the peripheral. Our brain is going to identify pieces, and that piece then is handed with the rest of the image. It's identified as it's handed to this mood ring. The mood ring then says, oh, let's convert that a little bit more. Again, this is the negotiation we just talked about, where we're saying, well, there's lions, but are they in downtown New York? I doubt it. All right? So our brain is now converting this, right? So firstly, our imagination has converted the imagery. Our eyeball created the digital piece of it, which now is on the optic nerve transmitting into the brain. The first stop, again, is this mood ring. The mood ring then identifies our preset emotional state, whatever that happens to be at the moment. And all of these things are very dynamic. They're changing by the experience, right? And how many experiences do we have in a second? Well, trillions, right? Because this is the fastest camera you can imagine, and every image is an experience. And so every experience, our emotional state can change, right? So when we leave this mood ring, whatever our preset emotional state was, now the signal then leaves the mood ring and goes into the well of the self. Now, the well of the self is a wonderful analogy. Now, before I go too much further, I need to be sure that you understand that this is not anatomy. It's not science, right? This is what my ancestors told me, how we think. It is a vivid map, of pieces and parts that go into each thought. Now, why is this important? Well, there's a bunch of things that come out of that. The primary thing that is going to happen throughout every experience being processed is the emotional state that's created or the emotional state that's remembered. Both of which are very applicable and have a very important role to play in how we translate reality and how we store it, right? So it'll be manipulated, as I've already mentioned. We're only 2 steps into this process, and we've already had a significant amount of manipulation of the original image, of the original experience. Now, every experience alters back and forth, and our emotional state goes up and down and around and over and over and through and under. So all of these are manipulating it, and what we're getting is, as this signal now reaches our well of the self, this is, of course, where our heart gets involved. Now, my ancestors thought very clearly that the heart was a very separate part of the thought process. And giving credit where credit is due, it was, all right? It was a very important piece. But it's not technically the heart. It's actually the pituitary gland in your brain, which then signals to release hormones and all of these different chemistries within the body. Now, this, for those of you who are wondering, is where drug use and alcoholism and different addictions come into play. Because as these hormones are released into the system, they have a different effect. Now, everyone's DNA is very different, so everyone releases a different level of and different hormones. So those come flooding into the system. They're going to percolate up to finally arriving at this thing my ancestors referred to as the recipe card. No, recipe card is simply those lessons we've learned throughout our lifetime that show this chemistry and what it means emotionally. So if I have this chemistry that arrives, I can look at my recipe card and look at the chemical composition and go, all right, well, that is right here, and it says I'm happy. Okay? Based on this chemical composition that's received at the recipe card, excuse me, the recipe card says I should be happy. The recipe card then hands that manipulation of the energy, of the chemistry, to the horn of feeling, where it's converted back into bioenergy from biochemistry. Okay? So that's where that happens. Now, all of these things, the well of the self, we've connected with and provided the values of the virtues, values, and belief systems, right? To release the chemistry. The chemistry then filters through the body. Whatever's in the body, your natural nutritional chemistry, if you've added some chemistry such as alcohol or some type of drugs, some type of medicine, all of that is now filtered into this energy as the energy is now received at the recipe card. The recipe card then hands that concoction with its own set of instructions, now gets handed to the horn of feeling, where it's now converted back from biochemistry. This is the use of the physical form. This is why we have a body. It's converted back into bioenergy. That bioenergy is then transmitted to this thing called the me gate. The me gate then says yay or nay. Do I want this feeling or not? And we have a choice. Every experience that brings to us an emotional state or emotional energy, we have a choice. We can use the me gate and just say, no, I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel this way. Whatever that looks like. So, ultimately, everything arrives in memory. The memory then starts imagination, and we start to cycle all over again for the next experience. So there's a lot of pieces that we need to understand that we get to drive. We get to be in charge. Not the experience, not other people outside of us. Nope. We get to be in charge. We get to decide what we're going to feel and when, and for how long. And to that point, let's talk about today's rune. Today's rune, of course, teaches us that the gods are listening. Runes are simply characters that have meaning, and their meanings are modified, altered by the gods to help us to better understand our path forward. So today's question, again, as always, is what is today's knowledge? What is today's wisdom? What is today's thoughts to help us get through this day? And today, we arrive at Manaz. Manaz, of course, one of the coolest characters as far as I'm concerned. Probably, I would say Manaz and Dagaz are the two really coolest rune-looking, right, characters. Manaz is a really exciting rune because it indicates that there's a divine influence, an awareness, an intelligence, a sustainability for the divine structure within here. In my books, I've written, because of the ancestors have told me, that within each structure, within each spiritual entity, resides particles of energy given to us by these gods. And the gods have offered these particles of energy which to construct ourselves around, our consciousness. And those connections, those particles of energy that are connected to us, allow for them to learn what we see, our experiences on this physical realm. So it's kind of like a bug, if you will, like from the spy movies where they put in a recording device into a room or camera or something, right? And they're recording the deal, right? So same thing applies when we talk about these little particles of energy that the gods have given us. So Manaz says that we should be aware of these, and we should remember that each of us, given our DNA structure differences, given our experiences differences, given all the factors that we've just spoken of, are teaching these entities referred to as the gods these different perspectives, different ways to look at these experiences. It's a pretty cool, really cool responsibility. And I'm honored to be doing my share of offering this. All right. I have to take a real quick commercial. When we come back, I want to talk about how we can put the long winter and the quest for, certainly for Odin's quest of wisdom, how we can put that into our everyday life and use it to benefit ourselves, to get to that next evolutionary step along our spiritual trajectory. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Feed the four-footed brew right. Zeal Pet Foods keeps ingredients honest and energy steady. Check out all their options and all the links in our webpage at sponsors.
It's happening.
It's in the air.
The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
Level up your language in minutes a day. TalkPal AI gives instant feedback and real practice. Try it and try the link in our description.
These words are stirring something heavy in you. You don't have to carry it alone. Sliding scale spiritual guidance with sessions outside normal business hours is available through the Alaska ulfhednar. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.
Back. Thank you for taking that quick break with me. As always, I deeply appreciate your attentiveness and certainly checking out New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com, a wonderful streaming channel dedicated to helping us to grow. I also want to say thank you to dreamhost-hosting and their affiliation with us. All of my sites are hosted there, so do feel free to check them out. You can take a look at almost any of them, including the website that has all of our sponsors, akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. There you can see all there is to see. Many different sponsors who have agreed to help us continue to promote our show, so do check them out. And Christmas is coming up, so now's a great time. Black Friday, all those specials that go on during this time of year, to check out something you may need for your family or yourself. So be sure to check that out, akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. So as the ad says, also I would encourage you to check out akulfhednar.org. akulfhednar.org is our nonprofit. The nonprofit is functional to help individuals find their culture, to reestablish that ancestry and that long lineage in their own lives, and help to kind of cross over into finding a balance within themselves using their ancestral, cultural, and heritage. So do check those out as well. You can find out more, including some one time with me, have some discussions, talk about those things that are troubling you, maybe obstacles in your personal life. You can check all that stuff out at akulfhednar.org/guidance. We can set up a time and have a conversation. So today we're talking about the long winter and how that affects. What does that mean? And well, that means that we're taking some time, much like Mother Yord, the Earth, to kind of reassess, take a good look at things, pull the blankets up a little bit, get a little bit warmth, and just snuggle in and think about what's making us feel the way we do. And by identifying the thought process and its effect on what we conceive, what we perceive as our emotional state, helps us to then begin to take control of that emotional state. Many things are going to happen in our lives, events, experiences that we're going to have that seemingly drive us to feel a certain way. Death is one of those things, I think, that drives many people. Pain, suffering, particularly love and lost love. Those things have a tendency to feel as if they're driving us to some particular emotional state. But again, we always have control. I'm reminded whenever we speak of states and where your mind is thinking about my father's funeral / his wake. My father, of course, being an Irish Dane. We celebrated the funeral in the morning. It was very somber, very sad. We were very sad to see his physical form leave this physical plane. Conversely, that evening, we celebrated an Irish wake. The Irish wake celebrated more of the spirit's arrival in the spiritual realm, its release from these physical bounds, and most importantly, the intellect and the wisdom that it had gained over its time here on the physical realm. So super important, recognizing that accomplishment. So very different perspectives of the same event, right? So a funeral versus a wake. So very different perspectives. For those of you who may know me, yesterday I had a tooth extracted I had gotten an infection. And so I was sitting in the chair as the dentist did a wonderful job, by the way. All hands up for those individuals at Bright Smiles here in Anchorage. Wonderful job. Anyway, as I was sitting there and he was doing his thing, I thought about that and I really considered what emotional state I should be in. Obviously, they numb you up pretty good, so there's no pain, right? And so, until later, by the way, till later. But nonetheless, as they're doing their thing, I thought about where my focus was, what I was concentrating on, and what energy I was focused on. Was I focused on the tooth and the pain and no. Was I focused on something else? Yes. In my case, I was thinking about all my friends and the people with whom I had scheduled appointments with yesterday to visit with and speak with. I was thinking about their scenario and how they were looking at life and how they were, and I was so involved in that thought process that I had totally missed my tooth extraction. The next thing I know, is the person, the woman who was being the assistant, kind of shakes my arm and she says, "Mr. Wiseman, are you ready to go?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, thank you." Why? Because I had focused so much of my energy on these other things. I had forgotten where I was, really. to some extent. I had almost forgotten where I was. So the power of the mind is a very powerful, very effective tool in managing how we see our world, how we interact with, and more importantly, how we allow the world to interact with us. So I really took away another wonderful lesson of that concentration of where I was putting my energy and how I was able to focus. So hopefully this will provide you with a little guidance as well as to how you can direct your energy for your benefit. So hopefully that part will come true, and you'll be able to manage and actually put your emotional state where you want it to be, not where our world, not where the experiences around us are telling us that we should be. This is all about you, not about anyone else, not about this world. It's about you and allowing or denying these different influences. So you're in charge. You get to make the decision as to how you feel. What are you going to decide? All right, my friends. Again, today, I pray that you will embrace just the teachings of Othin. Whether you recognize Othin as one of your gods or not makes very little difference. The lessons that he brings to us is that the constant search for wisdom, the constant adoption of these experiences that allow us to build our wisdom, thereby laying the foundation for an imagination, thereby altering the way we see and interpret the world that we live in. So hopefully you will use the guidance that Othin has offered us today. And I look forward to tonight. We'll be doing Sportsball Buzzverret, where we'll get a question and we'll make a show out of it. And that question, whoever asked it, obviously I'll send them a free shirt. So if you do have questions, if you do have things that you're currently challenged with, by all means, visit the website, akulfhednar.org, scroll all the way to the bottom, big orange button that says Ask Questions. Hit that button, submit your questions. If I make a show about it, I'll send you a free shirt. If we don't, we'll still have a conversation about it. We'll still get a dialogue open and we'll find some answers. Hopefully that work and resonate within you. All right. So today we embrace Wothin and we look so forward to the experiences that we that are out there, and we really look forward to seeing all of the things that are brought to us and how it will work within our structure, within our who we are. So embrace those experiences. And remember, you are loved. You are at the perfect place along your evolutionary track. Although it may seem as if it is a setback, it is not. It is so that you can get to the next necessary level, the next necessary step. So keep your eyes open. Chances are they're there. All right? Love and light, my friends, and we will see you again this evening for Sportsball Buzzverret.
Fulfilling us. Una. Hjälp oss med. Magnify. Tu för åg. Kaliot.
If what we've touched today hits something raw for you, you don't have to carry it alone. We offer a sliding scale spiritual guidance with sessions outside normal business hours. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.